up?
Yes,
How you guys doing?
baby, my God.
Get robbed.
Come on. So we got.
Hey, let me say this. You know, to be on with like 3 of my favorite people in Detroit, and we all know that. First of all,
All right, he's lying already, but go ahead.
Ryan works way too hard. I can't believe how hard this guy works, and is so good at what he does. Maz, we know
Thanks,
Maz,
Rob.
world producer, and you know, has been around forever and makes everybody better. And Terry, who I want you guys to know, when I first came to Detroit in 1993 to be a columnist at the Free Press, Terry reached out to me, showed me around town, and all that. So all 3 of you guys mean a lot to me. So it's great
Thanks,
to be
Rob.
All right,
We
Rob,
love you
we
too.
love you, man.
And Rob, let me praise heap some praise on Rob. When I was sick about 5 years ago, there's 2 people in the media that I really heard a lot from. It was Rob and Wojo.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the guys that reach out the most. And Rob was like, every day, you all right? You're going to be good? What's happening? And everything. I said, I think I'm going to be good. Not quite sure. But Rob, you came through. And you need people. You need just to talk to somebody. And I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, that it's always, I always say this, it's always easy when life is good to be friends with somebody. It's when things are bad, actually, when you need friends the most.
And
So
you know who your friends are real quick when things are not going well
doubt.
for you, right?
No doubt about it. So all good. You see, I'm wearing my the Columbia Sea hat.
The Lions.
I just noticed that.
I figured since I went to a school with a bad football team, this would be apropos for Michigan and the Lions.
Both Lions teams, too, right? Both Lions.
Yes.
Rob, it's so good to have you on with us today. I'm sorry Braylon's not here. He's got a wisdom tooth situation, but I know he's a huge fan of yours, and we'll get you back on when he's with us too. But I wanted to ask you first and foremost get to some NFL stuff with the news of the day that Cam Newton has re-signed with the Carolina Panthers. The impact that he can have with Carolina, Rob, is what?
I mean, he gets a quarterback that we know was at one time a Super Bowl quarterback and an MVP. Obviously, he's not at that level, but I'm not so sure. Last year, he started off pretty well with the Patriots, got COVID, never really bounced back, and this is a chance. He's been off for a while to finally get that arm right. So an experienced guy who can help them if he has something left in the table, left in the tank, and I think he does. It's also pretty amazing that he wound up going back. Maybe it's because he had no other options. But, you know, sometimes in life, you know, you got to go backwards and go back to a place where they didn't want him and try to refigure it out. And maybe it could rejuvenate his career. He's not an old guy. And when you see Tom Brady and people like that still playing, this could be a chance if he plays pretty well at this stretch. Maybe he gets another opportunity somewhere else.
Yeah, but you know, they always say in professional sports you can't go home. You can't go back home, particularly for coaches. But can a player do that? That's going to be the real difficult thing right there because he's going to be really scrutinized in Carolina.
There's no doubt, but I think he wants to play football, and here's his opportunity. You know, we're at the halfway point of the season, so I think he probably just said, I would rather play somewhere and get some time in than to sit out the entire year. So I do understand why he was willing to go back to Carolina.
Hey, they're giving him $10 million, almost $5 million guaranteed. They're a playoff team right now. It's them or Atlanta that could be the 7 or 8 team in the NFC. He's got a good team. McCaffrey comes back. And Sam Darnold, you know, with the broken shoulder blade, he wasn't doing anything anyway. They give up 3 draft picks to the Jets for him. Those picks are looking good for the Jets right now. It's looking like Sam can't play quarterback in the NFL. I think he's in a great spot.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. It's not like you're going to the Lions or something. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
No.
Hey, Rob, what would you rather have, a salad filled with rusty nails that you have to eat or Jared Goff?
You know what? I know Jared Goff the year hasn't been good, but you know what's crazy is if you look at the numbers between what Matthew Stafford's doing this year.
Oh, here we go.
And what Jared Goff did in the year they went to the Super Bowl, let me tell you, Jared Goff's numbers are identical. I mean, nobody would believe that, but that team through the first nine games was 8-1. Stafford 7-2. Stafford has like 2,700 15 yards. Jared Goff had 2,700 on the nose. Jared Goff had 20 touchdowns and 6 picks. Matthew Stafford has 23 touchdowns and 6 picks. So it ain't that big of a difference. I know people think Stafford is the Messiah and he's going to lead them to the championship. I'll believe it when I see it. And let's not let Matt off the hook. He's got to win a Super Bowl in L.A. in order for this all to make sense. If he doesn't, he's no better. They went to the Super Bowl with Jared Goff.
Hey, Rob, all our people on YouTube are asking me, get Rob to say Pat Stafford. Talk about Pat Stafford. What do you got to say about Pat Stafford? I think you just said it.
Well, yeah. I mean, they always stat Patford. And, that name fits. Everybody knows that name fits because we saw him for, 12 years, down 15, 21 points, piling up the stats at the end, make the game look decent. And all those stats. I was coming up. I'm going to admit this. I had a website ready to go before this trade to the Rams, and I was going to do a thing called the Stat Padford Index. Come up with a number and how you figure it out. And everybody, the way you would have quarterback rating, you would have a Stat Padford number. That if you were down by more than 2 touchdowns with less than 10 minutes to go or 8 minutes to go, all the numbers that you accumulate after that, they wouldn't count to your numbers.
Don't count. Talking to the great Rob
That's
Parker, awesome. Fox Sports, Fox Sports 1, Fox Sports Radio, Odd Couple with Chris Broussard and Rob Parker, MLBBro.com. Rob, you got your hand in everything. Now that you're out there in Los Angeles, we were talking earlier about how irrelevant the Lions are nationally. Last night the Pistons were on ESPN and Jeff Van Gundy was ripping on the Lions, saying they should go to NFL Europe and give us the team from Munich. We'd have a better job doing that. What is the national perception of the Detroit Lions? And do you get, second part of that question, do you get a little sick to your stomach because you watched Stafford for 12 years here to see all this national, almost just lather up the Stafford love? Do you get a little sick to your stomach with all that stuff?
I've thrown up in my mouth, Ryan, a few times because they really make it like he's the Messiah. And look, Stafford put up great numbers. If you just looked at his numbers, you would think this guy's a Hall of Fame quarterback. But we know that there are very few wins against good teams. There were a couple of years when he had a chance. People always talk about he didn't have anybody. They had the 5th best defense in 2015 when they lost that playoff game to the Cowboys. So that was a team. There was another year where they had a chance. I think it was that same year they had a chance to beat the Packers in the last game of the year, which would have given them the division, a home playoff game, and a bye. They lost that game. So there were a few moments where Stafford could have made a difference. And I think that's what I look at, is that there have been years when Aaron Rodgers hasn't had a defense and, their defense is giving up 40 points, but he still finds a way to win some games. And Stafford was never able to do that. And I think that's the glaring thing to me that tells me I'm not going to be convinced that he can win you a Super Bowl until he actually does it. And all the Rams fans, they all got their eggs in this basket. And I'll believe it when I see it. But I do not believe that they're winning the Super Bowl. Definitely not this year.
Rob, we're going to have Lynn Hennig on in the 3 o'clock hour talking Tigers baseball. So between you, Lynn, and Terry today, I feel like this is Detroit News Old Home Week here.
No doubt about it, man. I spent 9 years there. Terry, how many years did you work at the News?
I was there for 26 years.
Wow. Unbelievable.
I should get O'Hara on, too.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Rob, I want to stick with the NFL if I could with you. Odell Beckham Jr. Clears waivers. He's choosing between 8 teams, probably choosing between more like 3. What is the best fit for Odell Beckham Jr.? What is the best fit, and where do you think he will end up?
I think the best fit is Green Bay, and I really do. I think he's been crying to work with with the all-time great quarterback. Aaron Rodgers isn't the most accomplished quarterback. That's Tom Brady, okay? Because he's won all these things and has all this other 7 Super Bowls. But skill set, I think Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback I've ever seen. I'm just talking about skill set. Strong arm, touch, doesn't turn the ball over, can run for a first down. What can he do? He has the best touchdown to of the NFL. He also has the best quarterback rating of any quarterback who ever played in the league. So that's the kind of guy you want to team up with. And if he can be a missing link or an X factor and say get the Packers to the Super Bowl or win a championship and have some big numbers or some big touchdowns or big plays with Aaron Rodgers, I think that works to his advantage as far as his future in the NFL. Again, he's not that old, but he's been hurt the last few years, so he needs to go somewhere where he can have some success and people think of him as a winner. If you go to New Orleans, where they don't even really have a quarterback, I know that's home for him. He's from Louisiana, but I don't think that's the right place because he'll have the same issue that he had with Eli and the Giants at the end where he complained about the quarterbacking and in Cleveland. So I don't think that's a good spot. And then the other one is Kansas City, and they're trending down. And Patrick Mahomes isn't the same guy from the last couple of years. So I think Green Bay's the right choice. I really do.
Yeah, not that he would come here, but Rob, how long would it take for the old man to come up with a video on Jared Goff if he signed with the Detroit Lions? 15 minutes?
Yeah,
One day?
I think so about that.
Hey, Rob, you mentioned the Packers. What do you make of Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers and that whole situation over the last week and a half? And how quickly after they start winning games does this story go away?
Yeah, I mean, it will subside. I mean, Aaron really made a mess of it. Just admit it. Just be Kyrie. Just be Lamar Jackson. Just be Kirk Cousins, right? All these guys said that they weren't getting a vaccine. And, you know, it's a story for one day and people move on and make sure you follow the protocol. That's all you had to do. When you mislead people, when you lie, when you stretch the truth, that's when it comes back. It's always the cover-up. So Aaron Rodgers put himself through unnecessary harm's way as far as the way people look at you. And once you've done that, and I'm talking about, you know, lie to people and whatnot, I don't know if you can always come back and get your reputation or have people trust you. And you want like this is just me. I think if he ever really wanted that Jeopardy job, I think that hurt him as far as likability and people, you know what I mean, wanting him to have that job if that was ever open again down the road for him. I think that hurt him.
See, I don't think Aaron Rodgers has really been in tune with the Green Bay Packers for a while. You know, obviously he had this rough offseason. But the other thing with him, this is what I like about sports. People lie, they mislead people, and then when it comes out, it's everybody else's fault. That's what he tried to pull.
No, he did try to pull that. And the only thing I will say, Terry, is I thought this had been, other than the opener, which was a stinker, he had been playing well. They had won 7 games in a row. You remember the 37 seconds left. He pulled that game out in San Francisco. Then they go to the desert in Arizona. They were 7-0. They beat an undefeated team without his top 3 wide receivers. He's animated on the side. He's jumping around. He's excited. I thought there was some mending that went on with Green Bay and him, and that there was a chance that the Packers could come to him at the end of the year and say, we're trading Jordan Love, and we're going to commit to you for the next 3 years, give him fresh new money to his deal, and have him finish his career as a Packer. We saw Jordan Love the other day. Are you convinced that he's going to be a star quarterback in the league? I know it was only one game, but I don't think so.
Hey, Rob, let's talk about our favorite sport, baseball. The Braves were a great story. Win 88 games, make those great trades at the deadline, and they win a World Series. A GM, have you ever seen a GM pull off what that guy pulled off?
Oh, I thought it was like Dave Dombrowski. Oh, I'm sorry, that's a mistake.
Exactly, wrong one. No bullpen. How about Carlos Correa, man?
know.
Tell us. Is Carlos coming to Detroit?
He's going to get paid. There's going to be a market for him. And, you got A.J. Hinch sitting there, maybe, right? Maybe. If you got – it's all about the loot, though. You know that. It's got to be about the money. But, yeah, the Braves were a great story. I did pick them to win in 6 games. I was hoping that maybe Dusty Baker could get a World Series because he has been a great manager for a long time. He's taken 5 different franchises to the winning a division.
First
Nobody
manager
else has
ever to do that. Yeah, right, exactly.
Right. I mean, but he needed a World Series, and it's not over for him, obviously. But at 72, that was a great chance for him to get a World Series. But the Braves story was incredible. When you're missing your best player and you're able to rally and win a World Series the way that they did. I was in Atlanta for a few of the World Series games, and it was awesome. The atmosphere was great. The fans, have been through a lot. That's why they call it Choke Atlanta, but I officially took the tag off of them after this World Series.
Hey, how can they make the game better for the young kids? Can they start these games earlier? I mean, the kids can't watch these games. They're going to 12:30 at night. Dusty Baker, I think he changed 20 pitchers in one game. It's too much. Even for me, it's just too much.
Maz, I hear you, and it's the same age-old argument. Baseball works with the networks. They want the games on at that time. They're the ones who legislate. Ryan, you know this. Television calls the shots, and they want the games on late. That's when they want the games on because they're trying to reach a demographic. Baseball's making a gazillion dollars from television, and so I just don't see that as being the case. This is not when we were kids and we used to run home from school to watch a World Series game start at 4 o'clock. I mean, those days are long gone.
I do think,
dude, we used to watch it in class. Yeah. We mean run home. We watch it in class, brother.
Rob, the thing with these networks, though, too, now is that I just can't get past is everybody is doing it a little bit different these days. The only thing people watch live these days is sports and news. So you could put these games on whenever you want, and people are going to watch them. In the world of the DVR, in the world of remote working, where most of the workforce seems like they're working from home anyway. I mean, you could have these games on earlier. I don't understand what the benefit is to keeping them on through midnight.
Well, here's the difference. Rob is out on the West Coast, right?
Exactly.
That's the crutch right there.
Yeah.
Ryan, Terry, 100% is that, yes, when you're on the East Coast, you feel like that. But if you start the World Series game at 7 o'clock, people on the West Coast, it's 4 o'clock. They're at work.
You don't go to games anyway. West Coast people don't go to games anyway. Come on,
it takes West Coast people. It takes them 2 hours to get home.
I know.
So by the time they get home, the game will be done.
You get there in the 4th, you leave in the 7th.
Well, and I know you're out there in California, so close your ears. But 80% of the country lives in the Eastern and the Central time zone. So I mean,
who cares about the Pacific?
I get it. But the number 2 city is Los Angeles.
Yeah, I know. No, you're right.
They can't do it. I'm telling you, like it is. If you remember years back, they moved Monday Night Football to 8 o'clock.
Yes,
I love that.
It's on at 9. Yep.
Loved
it. But that was 5 o'clock West Coast, and it only lasted for a year or two, and there were too many complaints, and the numbers, went down because they lost a lot of people who couldn't watch. So they tried that before. I remember it.
But it's 8:30 now. It's 8:30 now. The game starts at 8:20 or 8:30. No. It still starts at the 8 o'clock hour.
8:20 though.
Yeah,
8:20 instead of 8. So they moved it up. They moved the kickoff. They did move the kickoff up about 20 minutes because it was 8 and then it goes to 8:20. Hey Rob, man, we're so happy for your success, man. We miss you so much over here. We love you. We miss you, and tell Skip and Shannon and Chris and all those guys we said hello.
No doubt. And as you know, Detroit has a fond spot in my heart, and spent 20 years there, got married there, got divorced there. I worked for every media outlet possible. And I want you guys to know that next October, October 22, celebrating the 20th anniversary of my barbershop, Sporty Cuts.
Sporty Cuts, baby. Yes.
20 years.
Get out of here. Sporty Cuts.
Unbelievable.
We'll have a big party.
Get robbed, man, and say hi to Joy Taylor for us.
Oh, we love Joy Taylor.
Be good.
MLBBro.com,
Right,
Fox Sports, Fox Sports 1, Fox Sports Radio, Odd Couple with Chris Broussard and Rob Parker. We love them so much. Rob Parker, all the best, my friend.
All right, guys. Thank you. Have a great day.
Tucker Barnhart, two-time Gold Glove Award winner, newest Tigers catcher, on the line with us now. Tucker, thanks so much for the time. And first of all, how does that sound? Tucker Barnhart, Tigers catcher. You've spent your whole life with one organization, the Cincinnati Reds.
It's going to take some adjusting and some getting used to, but I like it. I'm excited for the change. I'm excited to be a part of the Detroit Tigers organization and do anything I can to help this team win.
Tucker, welcome to the city. From one Detroit guy to the new Detroit Tiger. Welcome to the city. City is glad to have you.
I appreciate that. Thank you, man.
I'm excited. I'm a big Tigers fan. We talked about it early on. My dad was still on the show. Talked about going down to before Comerica Park, going down to Michigan and Trumbull. But I remember going to Comerica Park when it first opened, when we also got a catcher, and Pudge Rodriguez, who came and helped the Tigers go to the World Series in 2006, I believe it was, man. So I look at your resume, stacks up pretty nice, man. So I hope that's you.
Well, I appreciate that. To be mentioned in that kind of category, is put some pressure on me, but I'm excited for it. And Pudge, man, I looked up to him growing up. I watched him play as much as I possibly could. Actually, behind me you can't see it, but I have a Texas Rangers Pudge jersey hanging on my wall that he signed for me. So I hope and wish that I could do a little bit of what he did in Detroit, and like I said, help this team win in any way that I possibly can.
Talking to Tucker Barnhart, newest Tigers catcher. Tucker, you were a guy that was identified by this organization that could help them immediately. They didn't even want you to have a chance to test,
hit the market.
They wanted to make a trade for you. When you feel that wanted by an organization, what is that experience like?
Well, it's humbling, first of all. For an organization, I came from Cincinnati, who's was the first professional baseball team, going to another one of the older teams in all of baseball in Detroit. Just to be a part of something so special is definitely humbling in first and foremost. But speaking with Al and with AJ Hinch, with Chris Fetter, you can tell how much they genuinely are excited for me to be a part of the organization, and it means a lot to me. It really does. I talked with AJ the day that the trade happened, and I really appreciate. Him, a former catcher, I really appreciate how he views the position of a catcher and what he thinks it can do to a team, to a game. Because I echo what he says, how integral and impactful that this position can be, and to be in an organization, not saying that the Reds didn't feel that way, because I know they did, but to be in another organization that views catching as important as they do, it means a lot to me, and it means even more to me that I was the guy that they wanted to be that behind the plate for them. So I'm excited, and I can't wait to get to work.
Tucker Barnhart joins us, the newest Tigers catcher. Cannot wait to have him here. Can't wait for spring training already. I know the World Series just happened, but I'm a junkie. I love watching baseball, and it's great to have you here, a catcher, man. Finally got a catcher. We got a guy named Eric Haas here last year. Came up from AAA. His mother actually drove him to the ballpark from Toledo to play in his first major league game. The guy goes crazy. Not only that, uncanny likeness to you too, Tucker. Have you had a chance to talk to Eric Haas?
I haven't yet. I look forward to that conversation or those conversations because I think that gone are the days where you lean on one catcher for the majority of a season. And so I by no means think that I'm going to come in here and literally play every single day and be the only guy that puts on catcher's gear for the Detroit Tigers. I mean, that would be ridiculous and naive of me to think that way. So the team needs both of us. The team needs both myself and Eric to contribute at a high level and prepare at a high level. And I haven't, like I said, I haven't had that conversation yet with him, but I look forward to it. He was with Cleveland before Detroit, I believe, and we crossed paths in spring training a little bit out in Arizona, but not a lot. But I'm excited to work with him and pick his brain on how he feels about catching, and hopefully we can make each other better.
And, it's interesting, Tucker, that Matt just talked about AAA and coming up to the big leagues. I was just sitting here looking at. I had to do a little bit more research, make sure I was very prepared when you came on today. And I've always been intrigued about AA, AAA playing, getting drafted, but then your rookie year, maybe 3-4 years later. Like I was just reading, it said this is 2014, mind you, debuted against the Cards April 3rd, then option to Louisville Bats April 7th, recall back to the Reds May 1st. Then when you hit your first home run, that was a big moment. Then you were optioned back to Louisville May 18th. Then you were recalled back to the Reds July 6th. And then you went back to Louisville July 11th. To go from that to Golden Globe in 17, Golden Globe in 20, to being highly sought after soon to be free agent, man. Like, what is the journey like? How I mean, you said humbling earlier, but it's got to be a heck of a journey, man.
It has been, and it's not over with by any means. But it's just those.
Oh, this is the last team you'll play for. This is the last team. You're stuck here.
That'd be great. It's cool to think about, like, all the people that you've crossed paths with, and I mean, I've been fortunate to do some cool stuff in my career so far, and by no means is it over. But yeah, I mean, you think about those grinds of minor league seasons and riding on buses without air conditioning and staying in crappy hotels, and then you think about where we are now and where I'm so fortunate to be at now. I mean, I got two boys. I got a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, and they both were on the field, and my wife included, to receive my Gold Glove last year. And there's a cool picture that I'll never forget, and I can't wait to explain it to him and show it to him in a few years when he really understands what a Gold Glove is, and not just that Daddy's going to work, but Daddy actually plays in the big leagues. It's a picture of my son. I'm holding my Gold Glove, and I'm getting it from Johnny Bench, and my son's looking at it like,
wow.
holy cow, like, that's a cool looking trophy. But like, the meaning of it, I can't wait to explain it to him eventually where he completely understands it. But it's just, I think about the people that I've been fortunate enough to be around, and I can't wait to embark on this new journey and this new grind and meet new people and win in another city, and hopefully we can do some really special things. I think what Detroit's built prior to me getting here has been special, and I think they're compiling so much talent that, like I said earlier, I hope I can just do a little bit to make everybody better and contribute in winning at the highest level.
And one of the reasons, Tucker Barnhart, that the Tigers are in the spot that they are moving forward and as competitive as they are is because of how quickly these young arms have developed, the young staff. What can you bring a young staff? I'm sure that's one of the parts of your game, the way you call a game, that attracted you to this organization, or attracted this organization to you, I should say. How do you think you help prepare the young staff?
Well, how much time you got?
We got another 40 minutes. How much longer do you have?
because it's and what I mean by that is I'm going to learn so much from those guys too, from AJ, from Chris Fetter, that I think where I start the season at from the knowledge perspective is not even going to be anywhere close to where I end it. I think experience. I mean, it would be the cliche thing that I think everybody would go to, but I mean that. I believe in that. I'm confident in the way that I prepare and the way that I see the game, and just kind of helping us all learn. I think that's the main thing to go about it. I've been fortunate enough to be around some really good coaches that have helped me out so much, and I'm just hopeful that I can pass along some of that information to guys. I grew up around my dad is a teacher. He was a teacher, and he still gives baseball lessons to this day. And he told me, it's like, I remember him coming home in like after school, and he would talk about Johnny learning a math problem and how it made him smile, and how it, like, you could see it in his eyes, like he was excited that he like finally got it. And you could tell, and my dad would tell those stories and how excited he would be that he was able to impact somebody that way. And to me, when dealing with and how I relate this to pitchers is, there's no greater feeling for me as a catcher to like see a younger guy out there that may be making his debut or in his first year or second year or whatever, and you get through a game and he throws 7 shutout, punches out 10 or 12, and it's like, holy cow, I didn't know I could do that. When in reality, it was always in there. It was just about just unlocking it and giving him that confidence that he could do it. And so I look forward to those opportunities so much, and I enjoy them so much that hopefully the experience piece will help instill that confidence in those guys, and we can get the best out of them.
Hey, Tucker, I wanted to ask you about the Tigers and the commitment to winning. This organization has never been afraid to spend money when they felt they had an opportunity to do so. Carlos Correa is a guy that's out there right now, $300 million over 10 years, maybe $320. The Tigers aren't afraid to spend that money. There's a relationship with A.J. Hinch, whether it's Carlos Correa or any one of the 5 shortstops that are out there. What has the organization said to you about their commitment to win? I know Justin Verlander is out there as well. The Tigers just saw him recently throw. Have they mentioned to you about a timetable of what they want to do in terms of bringing free agents in, building a championship contending team? Because what we saw last year was the couple of pieces here, man, and this thing could go for a long time.
Yeah.
We haven't had those conversations necessarily, but the way that I view it, kind of, when I wasn't with the organization, I was with the Reds, is when you bring in a guy like A.J. Hinch, you're on your way to winning in a very short period of time, in my opinion. You're not going to bring in a guy like A.J. and rebuild, is the way that I viewed it from the outside. And just, again, listening to the way that A.J. talked and how excited he was when I talked to him on the phone, I think the time is now for us to kind of go. I think it's there. I think we have good pieces, and to your point, it sounds like that they're going to be active in free agency. I don't know that for sure, and I don't want to overstep and speak on that when I don't know. But all signs have pointed that way, and I'm excited to be a part of it, and I'm excited to win and to win a lot.
Tucker Barnhart joins us, Tigers Gold Glove catcher. The newest acquired from the Cincinnati Reds. I got something for you. Speaking of the Reds, we had a guy that played here, Nick Castellanos. I know you got to know him over there. We love Nick here. He didn't love our ballpark, though. He did love Detroit, but he didn't love Comerica Park. Did he tell you a little bit about Comerica Park? Because it ain't the Great American Ballpark. I can tell you that.
There's no doubt about that. It's not. I haven't played there a little bit. It's very obvious, very quick that it's not Great American Ballpark. The only thing that I would that comes to mind when he think about, or when he would mention Comerica, is that a guy would hit a ball to center in Cincinnati and it'd be off the boat, or he'd hit a ball in BP that would hit off the boat above the batter's eye, and he was like, "Well, that's an F8 at Comerica." So it made me laugh a little bit.
He hated this place.
Oh man, that's funny. I enjoy playing there. I'm excited to play there. I think it's going to help me out a lot. I hit a lot of doubles, so being able to continue to do that is going to help me out. There's not a lot of extra bases in Cincinnati. It's more homers or singles.
Exactly
the way the ballpark is. So
just get used to hearing Comerica National Park. That's all.
Hey man, doubles are good too.
Hey, I'm a huge catchers fan. I'm an old timer. Not really, but young at heart. I mean, I grew up watching Johnny
We
Bench.
keep him young.
Johnny
We keep
Bench,
him young,
okay?
Tucker.
But my guy was Thurman Munson. And I saw you put out a tweet last week that your dad's guy was Thurman Munson. Who is your guy? Who did you – like, are you Yadi Molina? Who's your guy?
Well, I can say it now and not get as much grief about it. Yadi was my guy growing up. In Cincinnati, he's hated. So it was kind of like a sin to say that when people would ask me who my favorite catcher was growing up. So I kind of had to say Pudge, which Pudge is way up there. I just didn't see him play as much as I did Yadi. But yeah, Yadi, we developed kind of a working relationship. I wouldn't say we're friends necessarily, but a working relationship. We text each other. I would say a couple times a year and go back and forth. And he was one of the first people that texted me in 2017 when I won my first Gold Glove, and that meant a lot to me when he did that. So Pudge was a guy that I watched a lot. Obviously, not as much as Yadi, just because it was closer to when I was in high school and things like that. And then obviously getting to play against him the last almost 8 years has been kind of a dream come true.
Cincinnati's a great baseball city. Detroit is a great baseball city. Tucker, we cannot thank you enough for your time here on Woodward Sports. We are certainly excited to have you. Best of luck and continued success. Hope to talk to you down the road.
Go get him.
I appreciate it, guys.
I'll be there opening day.
Oh,
We'll see ya.
and Braylon,
I'll miss any opening days.
But before a long career in the NFL, Tucker, Braylon said he could have been a Major League Baseball player too, but he chose the NFL. So if you ever want to throw him BP, he's
Hey, it worked out.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
See you, Tucker.
Thanks, Tucker.
man.
Appreciate it. Welcome back to Ermanni and Edwards. This is The Bottom Line on Woodward Sports, top of hour number 2, and we'll get right to it. He's a former Lions guard, third-round pick of the Detroit Lions from Washington State. 30 years ago today,
Wazoo.
paralyzed in a game versus the L.A. Rams at the Silverdome, November 17, 1991. And then Mike Utley started the foundation, the Thumbs Up Foundation, finding a cure for paralysis. MikeUtley.org is the website. We bring him in now. What a pleasure to be joined by Mike Utley. Mike, how you doing,
Thumbs
buddy?
up, Mike.
What's up, buddy?
Doing good, gentlemen. Doing good.
What a pleasure it is to speak with you, sir. And just as a kid who was a huge Lions fan, a huge fan of everything going on, what a pleasure it is to speak with you today, especially. When I say 30 years ago today, Mike, what kind of emotions come with that?
You know, everyone asks these emotions. Gentlemen, it was business. You know, and it is what it is. As my dad says, you got to step up and be a man when it's time to be a man, and it's right now it's time to be a man. And so every day I just deal with the situation that's in front of me. Nothing more, nothing less.
Mike, this has been your life longer, living essentially in a wheelchair longer than, for lack of a better way to say it, in a able-bodied man. I apologize, I don't know how else to say it. This has been your life longer than one is a professional athlete, or one is walking around, running around, whatever the case may be. Can you just kind of talk about that? How this is what your life has become, and just how empowering that has become to you and so many others.
Oh my God, my good man! Do you sit down when you tinkle? Jesus, freaking Christ! One leg at a time. I jump up. I still got a wife I got to deal with every single day. I gotta pay the bills, man. It's realville. Yes, it sucks I got hurt and all that kind of stuff, but in reality, you got to deal with it every single day. I do the things I need to do to make sure I'm healthy, I stay alive, I am productive, because I promised myself I will never be a burden on society. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever.
Hey, Mike, Braylon Edwards here. First thing I want to say is my father, Stan Edwards, says hello. Like my father, Stan, former teammate of yours, he says,
Good man.
Yeah, Big Stan says hello. The second thing is, someone else that was drafted in 1989 who I actually got cool with was Dennis Byrd. Dennis Byrd was also temporarily paralyzed with the New York Jets, and he obviously, like I said, temporary, but he became a big motivational speaker for us, and he was a huge motivation for me when we were with the Jets in the 09 and 2010 championship runs in the AFC. And I just asked him, I said, yo, what was your motivation? Like, what got you? Like, what did you draw from in terms of being able to start walking again, in terms of to keep going, in terms of football was no longer there for you, but you continue the quality of life? And he said he drew from the military. He drew from the military and the things that they did over there and how they fought for our freedoms, and the things that they went through was nothing. What he was going through was nothing compared to what they went through. I want to ask you, what did you draw on? What was your strength? What allowed you to be able to, like you say, man up and do what you have to do?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know what it comes down to, to be honest with you, it was the role models I've called mom and dad. Dad did what he had to do with 4 kids and a wife to support, getting laid off 3 times. Mom stood up and did what she had to do, working the 3rd shift to make sure one parent was home with us 4 kids. And that's reality. And I want to make sure I get out there and do those little things my parents did for me. Now with my wife, we're not blessed with children, but I have nieces. I'm uncle to a lot of buddies' kids. So these are the things I must do every single day to be a role model for them, because remember, the kids are our future.
Mike Utley joins us, former Lion guard, 30 years ago today, injured at that Rams and Lions game at the Silverdome. Thumbs up to Mike. It's been, what a battle. By the way, Darren McCarty works on our station, says he still does things with you, wants to give you his best. And tell us a little bit about that Lion team back then, how great they were, and really how bad, unfortunately, it's become here in Detroit. Do you still follow the Lions?
Oh, number one, yes, sir, I do follow the Lions. I'm a Lion through and through. 2 things. The NFL has been very good to me, but the biggest thing is the Ford family. Mr. Ford originally, Mrs. Ford, now the Ford family. The daughter's taken over. They have been wonderful. I have been blessed by playing, for the Ford family and being a Detroit Lion. That's number one. When it comes down to it, for me, it's watching what we did in '91 with Lomas Brown, Chris Spielman, and the whole gang. God, that was phenomenal. I just wish they would have won one more game.
Yeah.
I understand it didn't work out, and the Redskins did win. And my friend Mark Rippon was my first quarterback at Washington State. They took it and he won. He became the MVP. I'm proud of him. I'm glad for him. But Jesus Criminy, gentlemen, buck up and get back on the winning ways, because God dang it, I want the playoffs. And one day while I'm still alive, I want you to go to the Super Bowl, because one, I want to go, I want to ring, and that's the future for the Lions if they do what they got to do now.
We had Chris Spielman, your former teammate, on a couple of weeks ago, Mike, and you brought up his name, so that kind of just jogged my memory about it. Just talk to me about how you think he is kind of helping to lead this organization. It's not, look, it's year one of a rebuild right now, but it seems like the right man is at the top of this organization.
That's true. You could not get a better person than Chris Spielman. Number 2, you can't get a better linebacker, but a role model. That's a ticket. Chris has been there, and that little fella has led by example by getting there, being there early, doing what he needed to do as a professional athlete to be a leader of that defense, but most of all, a leader of that team. And that was what was so impressive by it. But I'm going to give you a quick story about Chris Spielman. It was my first trip back after my injury, and Chris was the only guy in the locker room, and I wheeled up to him. I said, "Hey, Chris, man, can I ask for a big favor?" He goes, "Sure, what?" I said, "Dude, I got to wedge you. I got shorts on, and I got to wedge you. Can you the pant legs there and kind of pull them out?" And he goes, "Absolutely." I raised up. He pulls them out. I sat back down. He walked about 4 or 5 feet away. he turned around and he goes, "Mike, your friends don't care," and he walked away.
Yeah.
That's what kind of man Spielman is. He's an example of what a friendship is, but what a role model is, and what a great athlete he is. And I tell you what, the Ford family is great to have him in that position at this point in time in his young leadership role.
Hey, Mike, take us back 30 years ago, and I know Ryan touched on it earlier. It was against the Rams. Injury happened down inside the 10-yard line there. What happened exactly there? We know you went up for a block. The guy came down, and he came down on your head. What went through your mind and your body?
You know, at that particular moment, when Eric Kramer came up and called the play, I heard, the guy Rocker went to block the pass and went to take his legs out. I have done this a million times. I just got caught. He caught my shoulder pads and pulled me down, and I hit the top of my head and broke C567. But what the difference was this time is I lost strength. And I've never lost strength as an athlete before. Even when I broke my leg, I tried to get up and walk 3 times. I broke my rib, separated my shoulder, and separated my hip my second year. I came back from those things. But this time, when I rolled on my back, I knew I was in serious trouble because I had burning down my legs, but I just couldn't move. And then Ken Filed came out and they loaded me up in the stretcher and they were wheeling me off. But 2 things I remember specifically about that. The fellas coming up and said, "Hey, Mike, we're going to get this one for you. Hang in there, brother. Hang in there." But then the crowd. I remember the fans of Detroit made an impression on me that I will never forget. And that's when the only thing I could do was raise my right hand to let them know I heard them and I would be back. And God, thankfully, I'm able to still be alive and be able to at least pay back to Detroit what they have given me so much on that one particular day.
Mike, as you talk about being wheeled off there and the simple gesture of the thumbs up, it's almost a silly question to say, could you have ever imagined that simple gesture of a thumbs up taking on a life of its own? And now we see, even today, players who are injured, who may even be on a stretcher as a precaution. They are giving the thumbs up as they're wheeled off the field to kind of signify to everybody that, hey, it's okay. I'm okay. The foundation that was created, finding a cure for paralysis, the money you've generated. In that phrase, thumbs up means so much to so many people. Could you have ever imagined that simple gesture taking on a life of its own?
I have never had an idea that would be that far what it is today. But gentlemen, thank God I didn't give the bird when I was wheeled off that field.
We wouldn't have doubted it though, Mike.
Yeah. It would have been $1 in my pocket. But the biggest thing is I wanted people to hear, that I heard them. I wanted to make sure that they made a difference. Even today, those folks, they have no idea what that meant to me, the crowd, and for them to do that, I wanted to give back. And God willing, I'm able to, even today, do something for the people, the fans of Detroit, the fans the folks that live in Detroit. I wanted to make sure that I pay back because they have given me so much. As much as that silly as that sounds, they have given me so much.
Hey, Mike, this isn't a question. This is just a statement. I know you're not the type. I'm just listening to you. I know you're not the type that, has that attitude because you want people to, feel bad for you or whatever. Like, the way in which you are, the way in which you go about life, the way in which you talk, you can just hear greatness in you. And it's great to watch. It's great to hear because I think a lot of times people take for granted just like simple things in life. They I can't say the B word, but they complain. They talk about how hard things are and how I'm this and how I got to do this. And man, the hell with that. Like, get up and keep moving. Keep going forward. Keep going in life. Do what you have to do. Get out there. Be active. Life is great. And I'm just listening from you, man. So for myself, And here at Woodward Sports Network, I'm speaking for these guys, my bad. Man, we love you and we appreciate the example that you set. Because, looking and talking to you, it's great, man.
Amen.
It's a great thing.
Thanks, gentlemen. That means a lot, from a player. And if it was easy for us to be there, my God, everyone else would be there. And I even tell, Loma's Big Daddy Brown, I just tell him, I said, at one time in my life, I was one of the best 3, men in the world. There was only 28 right guards, and I was one of them for 3 years. And it's part of the game, when they started the game of football, it's time to give back a little bit. And I just want to make sure that Mr. Ford and, the whole Ford family, that I will continue to pay it forward for what the opportunities they have given me.
Last thing, Mike, you got a Super Bowl prediction this year? Who's going to win a Super Bowl this year?
I can tell you who's not going to win.
MikeUtley.org is the website. Thanks so much, Mike. Man. We love you here. We'll always love you here in Detroit. You got a home here any day of the year, my friend.
Buddy.
Thank you, gentlemen.
You got it. The great Mike Utley, everybody. 30 years ago today, that infamous game, that moment, David Rocker, the LA Rams. And we focus so much on that as sports fans. Yeah. It's just so refreshing to hear, Mike, it almost seems like he's
normal. He's regular.
Way past that. You know what I mean?
But there ain't many guys like this.
No.
Yeah.
There's guys that would quit. He's special.
Without question.
Damn, that was powerful.
Yeah. So much. Let's bring him in. Sean McDonough, the great Sean McDonough, has the call for the Michigan-Rutgers game this week. Sean, we play that. You're sitting here with all Michigan guys. I'm sure you've talked about that clip ad nauseum before, but what was going through your mind when that was all unfolding?
Probably that it was the most unbelievable ending of any sporting event that I've ever done. As I said, unbelievable. It was unbelievable. And, I think you realized as it was happening, or maybe right after it was happening, that, it's going to be an ending that's remembered forever. And not just by Michigan and Michigan State people, but I have people come up to me all over the place all the time who have no connection to either school and can recite the call or tell me where they were when they were watching it. So it was unbelievable, and it was fun to be a part of it. You guys are much nicer than most Michigan people who mention that play. Most of the time they say, like, you were a part of one of the worst moments of my life. And I would say, if losing a football game was the worst part of your life, then you've had a pretty good life.
Right, give me that life.
Man,
that's a good run.
That's a heck of a line right back to it. But I get it, though, because I know there's a lot of Michigan State fans that are upset at Mike Tirico for how he called the Michigan State game in 2004. Where they think
Who caught 3 touchdowns in that game?
No, it's not about me. We were talking about the analysts. Great to have you on, Sean.
Thanks. It's great to be with you guys. I always say, don't kill the messenger, right? I didn't care who won that game. I have Michigan State people come up to me all the time. I had one guy come up to me in an airport and say, you got to listen to this. And he played his phone, and that call was basically his voicemail greeting on his phone. And I've had people send me T-shirts that have been produced up in East Lansing that have the whole call written out, on the front of the T-shirt. So, it's if it happened the other way around, it wouldn't have changed the call. I would have been every bit as interested in it, but we really don't care who wins or who loses.
Absolutely not. Talking to the great Sean McDonough.
Unless it's Syracuse.
Well,
now we're talking.
When the Cuse is in the house, oh my God.
Absolutely. On the call this week with Todd Blackledge for the Michigan-Rutgers game. And Sean, this to us looks like a much different Michigan team than we've seen over the last couple of years. In your prep for this game, what have you seen out of the Michigan Wolverines? What do you expect to see this week in your conversations with Jim Harbaugh, perhaps this week in any sort of prep?
Yeah, I do think it's a different team. By the way, how does my camera work? I'm looking at this tiny little thing on my phone. I see a lamp and a...
Perfect.
You're good.
You are perfect,
Sean.
You are perfect.
We only see one chin.
It's not a flattering angle, but I think you're right. I think it is a different Michigan team. There's just a real palpable positive vibe and energy around them. I think the way they played these first 3 games, we talked to Josh Gaddis, and we're talking about, establishing an identity, being a running football team. He didn't like the word identity because, as he said, your identity could be that you're really lousy at something too. So it's not necessarily a positive, but I think what they are establishing here, the way they want to play and their ability to do it, has given them a confidence that they can continue to do this regardless of the opponent. And I think they can. I think this is a really, really good Michigan team that's going to have a special year.
Hey, Sean, I'm not going to be so much of a homer. I'm going to get out of the state of Michigan. I want to ask you about the landscape in college football, and this actually is something that Ryan has pointed out again and again and again, and I'm actually becoming a believer. What do you make of this being a year where everyone seems beatable? Like you look at Oklahoma, they almost lose. You look at Alabama. Alabama doesn't look so mighty and powerful. Ohio State has lost. Their defense is atrocious. That's just my thoughts. Everyone in college football this season seems to be beatable. Like it seems like the scales have finally tipped in every conference's favor. Everyone looks beatable. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I think you're right. And I wasn't so sure I would have said that after we saw Alabama in their opening game. Our group had their game against Miami down there in Atlanta in the Chick-fil-A Kickoff Classic. And you thought, my goodness, how could they be anywhere near as good after they had, 6 guys taken in the first round or whatever it was. And one of the great offenses, maybe the best offense in the history of college football. But, they came right out rolling. Bryce Young looked as comfortable as he could possibly be from the first snap of that game, making his first start, taking over from Mac Jones. But, and then I remember we were in Georgia last Saturday night walking by the TV in the press box and seeing that Alabama was ahead of Florida. I think it was 21-3, and thinking, okay, yeah, they're going to roll them. So I was surprised when I came back later, and it was a really tight game. And you have to give Florida a lot of credit for that. But I think you're right on. They're beatable. They're not as good as they were last year. I think they're a little better on defense, but they're probably not as good as they were last year. And Ohio State doesn't seem to be. Clemson definitely isn't. Georgia's legit. We had them last week. I think they're the best defensive team in the country. I can't imagine, based on what we saw last week, anybody plays defense better than they do, and their offense is better than it's been. JT Daniels is certainly a good enough quarterback, I think, to win a national championship with. They're a little undermanned right now at wide receiver, but they're going to get some guys back. So I think this might be the year they do it.
Talking to Sean McDonough, he's got the call of the Michigan-Rutgers game on ABC this week, 3:30. Of course, voice of the Boston Red Sox, and now the lead voice of the NHL on ESPN. Sean, I mean, look, we are
the Red Wings going a little bit. So
we just had D-Mac here a minute ago.
We work with Darren McCarty here. He'll be excited to talk to you.
Yep, that's exactly what we were talking about. Like we here in Detroit love hockey. We believe we are hockey town. Yeah. We are excited that the NHL is back on ESPN. How different is it to call an NHL game? I mean, you've called everything before. How different is it to call an NHL game as opposed to any other sport?
Well, it is different, and I think it is in some ways difficult, Ryan. The puck moves really fast. In a lot of these press boxes, you're a long way away from the ice, and it's hard to identify the players. And, we've done a couple of practice games, and, sometimes the names aren't all that easy to pronounce. I guess the best practice I ever had for that was in '98 when I was still at CBS. I did the Olympic hockey in Nagano, Japan. And when you're doing, China versus Russia women's hockey, you learn that the names better roll off your tongue. Or at least, as I said to Darren Pango, I was doing those games with John Davidson. Whatever I call them, just call them the same thing because their parents aren't watching and nobody's going to know. So the hockey's great. I grew up in Boston. When Bobby Orr and the Big Bad Bruins were in their prime, every kid on my block wanted to be Bobby Orr. And so, I've loved hockey my whole life and was hoping for the last 16 years that we'd get it back, and now we have. And I agree with you, Ryan. I think this is going to be great for the hockey fan and for the NHL. I think NBC did an excellent job. But, we have the platforms to give them much more exposure than they've had in recent years, and I think to help grow the fan base, because to me, hockey's never been better. The game is faster. I think the rules have contributed to that, but just the skill set of the players, and I think the players are faster and more skilled than they've ever been.
Although you had that tremendous play call for the Michigan State game, which was still heartbreaking. That wasn't my first introduction to you, Sean. I want to read you something. You tell me, does it sound like something you remember? Nixon bunts, Timlin on it, throws to first. For the first time in history, the World Championship banner will fly north of the border. The Toronto Blue Jays are baseball's best in 1992. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, that was my first World Series for CBS, 1992.
You broke my heart.
That was quite a year, because in the playoffs that year, it was Game 7 of the National League Championship Series was the Sid Bream, Francisco Cabrera, Sid Bream scored.
Where were you when Sid slid?
6 inches maybe. It was one of the great games, I think, in Major League Baseball history. MLB Network had a series, Baseball's Greatest Games, and I think they said that was the number 4 Major League game of all time. So I was lucky the 2 years that we had it, the baseball rights that I did it when I was at CBS with Tim McCarver. We had that year. Toronto
Joe Carter
won the
next
World
year.
Series, and then they won again in '93 on the Joe Carter home run, which was just the second time that the World Series had ever ended on a home run. So I thought, Braylon, you're going to ask me about one of the great football games I've ever done was Texas-Michigan in the Rose Bowl, which was a phenomenal game up and down the field, and won, I think, by Texas on a field goal with no time left or something like that. But an amazing game. It was like 37-35. I mean,
37-38. I chose the other one. We already had one Michigan loss. We already had one Michigan loss. But I'm born and raised in Detroit, and when my mom remarried, we moved to Lithonia, Georgia. So the Braves became my team. I'm talking watching regular season, postseason, and it was heartbreak after heartbreak after heartbreak for Bobby Cox. And I remember that play call live in '92, where I was only 9 years old, but it was a tough one. It was a tough one.
Sports fan extraordinaire.
I hate to say they underachieved. I mean, they were in the playoffs every year, but to only win one World Series with that cast seems like they probably didn't maximize it. But those were fun teams to cover. They were a good bunch of guys, too. The Greg Maddoxes and Smoltz and Tom Glavine and Chipper Jones and Mark
Steve
Buckey.
Avery.
Yeah, Steve Avery. Just a really good bunch of guys in addition to having some terrific teams.
Hey, Sean, it's Maz. Thanks again for coming on with us. Hey, I know you think baseball would be your favorite sport to call?
Do they hide you like in a
They do.
security
I'm in the
closet?
back. I'm in the back. You see me?
We have him in the back.
He's got a good view.
I got a
over
lounge
there,
chair. I got a lounge.
I was worried about my background here in my hotel.
Sean, you got to come visit us here. Lots of talent.
Lady
You're about
Jane's
to
behind us.
rent out racquetball equipment at the Y. So I don't know what's going on there.
We have a studio in a place called Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men. So if you wanted to get your hair,
I don't know much about
I know, I understand that. I'm holding on to scraps, so I got nothing. But I want to talk to you just about baseball in general before I let you go, because I'm the baseball
Can I
junkie
comment
here.
first on your shirt?
I know. Go ahead. I'm sad.
No, as you guys know, I mean, one of the great human beings who's ever walked the planet is Chris Spielman. And if there's anybody who can help the Lions get back to get to where they want to be, it is my main man, C. Spiel. He is the absolute best. They don't come any him, and if it can be done just by sheer will and desire, never mind great football knowledge and all that stuff too, he'll get it done.
I always say it. He's my favorite Lion of all time, and that includes Barry Sanders. I love number 54, but baseball, who do you like?
I don't know a better person, and I don't say that lightly. I do not know a better person than Chris Spielman. By any standard you judge a person, whether it's by his faith or the way he treats his family. He was an unbelievable partner and friend to me and still is. Great teammate on TV. And, he's just the best. They don't come any better.
I know. Awesome. We're glad to have him here, although he was pretty good in the booth with you. But we're happy to have him here.
Yes, he was. And so is Blackledge. They're a lot alike. Yep. I mean, they are so much alike that it's kind of scary sometimes.
Hey, you got Yankees Red Sox this weekend, too. Who do you like to win the whole World Series this year?
Wow. tough to go against the Dodgers or the Giants. Whoever, one of them is going to have to play in a one-game wild card, which is phenomenal, considering that they're both going to wind up with 100-plus wins. But, they've been the two best teams this year. Yeah, I think one of the great things about baseball, it seems that most of the teams now are either really good or really bad, and that's not a good thing. There's very little in the middle, and actually, I guess the Tigers would probably be one of the teams that's sort of in the middle, right? They're not bad, but
next year they'll be there.
Not really good. But most of them are like the Baltimore Orioles or Washington now, and Arizona. There's too many really, really bad teams. But I think most of the teams that are going to make it to the postseason would have a legitimate chance to win. Most of them have that frontline starting pitching that you need. I even think the Red Sox could do it. The way Chris Sales pitched and Nathan Eovaldi.
We lost Sean freezing up on baseball. We froze.
You had to ask the baseball
I
question.
know.
I knew it was
That's
coming.
the kill. Sorry, Sean.
You had to ask the baseball question. Oh, man,
that was a good one.
That was that's too bad we lost him. I mean, it's so gracious with his time. We certainly appreciate Sean McDonough. You're getting a big game when Sean McDonough's got the call. Michigan and Rutgers, 3:30 on ABC, and of course, we hope to see Sean here in Detroit at some point.
Definitely.
Cover a Red Wings game throughout the season.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah, that is great stuff there. Sean McDonough. We're going to take a break. Thanks to Sean McDonough. We'll watch him this weekend on ABC. He's got the call with Todd Blackledge, and great stuff there on Chris Spielman, too. Sean McDonough, awesome stuff. Big fans of his. We're going to take a break. Come right back. Darius Slay, we welcome in big play Slay. Now one of the most liked Lions of the past 20 years. Darius Slay,
ever.
Big play Slay. Thanks so much for the time on your day off, man. Thanks so much. We appreciate it.
All right, man. Appreciate y'all, man.
Slay, man, always good to have a wide receiver and a DB in the room. You know what I'm saying? You could just feel the energy. But I want to start by asking you a question, man. Like, how did it feel to score in your return to Detroit? Because like Ryan said, there's so much love for you as a player. You were loved in the community, and an idiot, there's a reason why you're no longer here. But how was it scoring and winning, back here?
Man, it felt great, man. Seeing the end zone, man, definitely. I ain't got too many of them, so it was always a blessing to see that. But it was fun, man. Definitely being back in Detroit, man. Then having my first touchdown as an Eagle in Detroit, man. So it was pretty good, man. I loved it.
Hey, Darius, I want to ask you, too, just before we go back, I just want to talk about Sunday. To see Ford Field with 47,000 fans, almost half empty, to see the paper bags of Lions fans. How far where you guys were under Jim Caldwell to where this thing has gone now? Just how far Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn have essentially devastated this franchise. What was that like for you, just to see? I mean, is there a little bit of sadness there for Lions fans to see how far it's fallen?
Oh man, definitely, man. But as of right now, man, they turning it around, man. Their team just young right now, man. They building, trying to become competitors and stuff like that right now. So they building their team right now, but. From what Caldwell had, man, Caldwell had a great thing going for Detroit, man. Had great leadership, had great veterans in the room, had a good mixture of young guys, older guys together. And we was building, man, like I said, 2 out of 5 times, man, been to the playoffs. Man, 2 out of 4, honestly. Half his year been in the playoff. And he had, like I said, he had a great thing going, man. I know Coach, they just kind of wanted to get us over the hump. But, Caldwell was getting us over the hump. And, but... it is what it is, though. But, man, I always hope for the best for them boys, though, over there.
Much appreciated. Talking to Darius Slay, 3-time Pro Bowler in 2017, first-team All-Pro, 8 interceptions, 26 pass deflections. Now you're in Philadelphia with the Eagles. Talk to me about Jalen Hurts. Like, I've watched some games, and I've seen some success. I've seen some failures. I've seen what I believe that Sirianni is putting a little too much on Jalen Hurts. I could be wrong. Do you think he's long-term or short-term? What was your assessment of that?
Long term, man, for sure, man. He works hard, man. People don't see what he does in the building, man. He first one in the building, last one out. Willing to do whatever it takes to be the to help this team win. That's what he do first, man. He put the team first, and as a quarterback, man, that's good for that to do that. And he leads by example, man. He come to work every day and come to go to work hard, and he just learning. It's only a year two. If we don't know his future brings, but he just like Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson. Coming out when he was in year two, took his team to the playoffs. Out behind a great defense, speed, got extended plays. Always want to use his legs, as you see now. Russell Wilson grow, use his legs as much as now. But he young, man. He just trying to find his way into this league.
I want to ask you another question. I know I mentioned 2017 was all pro year for you, but then you rattled off two more Pro Bowls in a row. Talk about what that first year was like to get to that level. Because for me, it was my third year in the league. I had a big season and made the Pro Bowl, and then it kind of goes from there in terms of you being a veteran and being experienced. Just talk about how 17 kind of just like sent you to that place, and you were able to continue every year after.
Oh man, just. Working hard, man. I got great leaders in my room. I had Rasheed Mathis, Global Quinn, guys that just kept pushing me each and every day, man. They saw more than me than I saw myself at an early age. So, I was just out there going to work, man. Next thing you know, to start catching the rock. At first I wasn't catching a lot of picks. That's why I got so many PBUs. I could have probably made way more Pro Bowls if I catch the ball, but back then, man, the ball was coming too fast, and I couldn't see it because that strike wasn't there. So I just knock it down because I didn't want nobody to catch it. But as I got older, man, the ball got slower. I could see it clearer, catching it. And I was just in the right position a lot of times, too, just making the plays I need to make. And that was really the easy way about it. That's just being in the right position.
Yeah, the reason that ball got slower these slays is because you started doing more film study. You know how it is when you do film study, because you were able to know it was coming before the ball even got released. That's why things slowed down. Your butt was in that film study room.
Got to be. Like I said, Sheena made sure I stay on top of everything.
Yeah.
Talking to Darius Slay, former Lion, now currently with the Philadelphia Eagles. Just a great performance by the Eagles this week in Detroit. 44-6 was the final. Lions fall to 0-8. And really, Darius, since you left here, everything was just kind of devastated. The franchise just kind of fell apart. When you see the success that you're having in Philadelphia or Matt Stafford's having in L.A. right now, just as you look around, you see the former players that leave this team, this organization, find success elsewhere. Well, what is it about Detroit that seems like you just can't put it together?
Man. Honestly, I think it's just because it got a lot to do with the upstairs, maybe. Because you got to keep some guys together. Like when I was in 2014, when we was like the number 2 defense in the league, there's no way that defense should have kind of like separated. We were still young. We was young in the back end. They paid Glover already. Glover had his money. We had Nick Fairley and Sue up to do a contract. There's no way them 2 guys should have been going, in my opinion, just because of the fact that they were just so dominant in the game. You had great linebackers, DeAndre Levy, Telly, So, we had the team building, So it was going in the right direction. So I felt as in, the upstairs had, with a lot of money issue. Sometimes you just gotta let it ride because you win the defense. You win championships with defense, and we had the defense to do it. So I think they should have just paid Nick Fairley, Sue. We had Jason Jones, a young guy, Ziggy in year 2. So they had long time to pay somebody. I was year 2, so they had time to move cap money and all kind of stuff. But man, I wish it would have stayed like that. But how the business side of it, but. It's saying to be though, it is kind of true that Lions players do go off somewhere else and ball out. So
Darius,
kind of crazy.
I was with Jason Jones in Seattle, right? So definitely.
No doubt. Darius, how quickly did you know when Matt Patricia stepped on the field that this was not a good fit here in Detroit, that this was not going to work? How quick was that?
Well, it wasn't as in that, like I knew from the jump. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm a team player. I do whatever the team need to be done. And, I just, like I say, he always kind of just approached it the wrong way. You know what I'm saying? I could take coaching. It's never nothing with me. You could get on me if I ain't doing my job or that. But, he was just, to me, to a lot of us, man, he was real, real, real disrespectful as another man to another man. And And I was like the guys that got out of there, like me, Quandre, Snack.
Can I ask you about Quandre? I mean, when he got traded, I think we were all blindsided by that. What was your reaction to that?
I was crazy. It was like, it was just wild, because you just paid him the year before, just extended him. So, what did you need to trade your guy for? He's a future, he having great years in Seattle. Right now, 17 career picks, doing what he got done. I think he just set a little thing for just having 3 picks in the last 5 years. The only player that just did that. So they paid him because they saw a bright future, and I don't know why they let him go. So it was just all about control. What guys can he control the group? What guys can he run over? What guys he could just tell what to do and they don't got nothing to say. And that's why, like I said, me, Snacks, and Quandre was the ones out because of the fact that, you wouldn't go just talk to us any kind of way. And so that was really most of the part what really was going on in the building.
Yeah, at the end of the day, people forget that we're grown men. Like grown men, right. You have families, you have kids, you have a wife. Like you can't talk to us any type of way just because you hold the mantle of coach or GM. But I'm gonna show you some love because I see the picture in the back. I see Weiss and Bears and I see Broly, but I see my man D Slay in the middle of all the Dragon Ball Z fanfare. So shout out to Dragon Ball Z. When I got traded from Cleveland to the Jets, when I came back to Cleveland the very next year, I missed this sushi spot, and that was the most exciting thing I was waiting to do. As soon as I landed, I told all the boys on the Jets, I said, hey, y'all, I'm about to take y'all to the sushi spot. We about to go eat up. It's going to be on me. When you came back, is there any place that you were missing that you was like, I just have to have it either before the game or something?
Man, Captain J's, man.
Yes, sir.
Come on, man. They had
some of the wings and fries.
Man, about like 6 boxes of chicken. One thing was gone. Telling you, everybody kept talking about Slay. We need that crack on the chicken. Bring it to Philly for us, man. I feel like it's good luck.
Man, I'm telling you, man. Like when players, because you've been somewhere for so long, like you fall in love with something, and then all of a sudden it's no longer there. You get traded. You like, dang, I really wish I had some Captain J's. And then when you play that team, I can only imagine how good that chicken was. Like,
man, it was amazing. It was amazing.
Hey, Darius, you showed Detroit so much love, whether it was, in your press conference in Philly leading up to the game in Detroit, whether it was on the field, and then the tweet after the game showing the city of Detroit. How emotional was this return for you? Because, many Lions fans look at you as one of those staple Lions that really was, one of the great players in the Jim Caldwell era, where you made it to 2 playoffs, and then all of a sudden one day it just felt over. Just the emotions after the weekend when you went back to Philly and you look back on your time here in Detroit.
Man, it was emotional, man, just because of the fact that, like I said, I've been there 7 years, in Detroit. My whole mindset was like, hey, I was gonna retire, a Lion, because of the fact that, I did so much, still playing at a high level, being still very consistent, and that's what I wanted to do. But God had other plans for me, and but like I said, I appreciate Philadelphia Eagles, man, taking a chance on me still. And doing what I was doing, but it was emotional, just as in fact that, like I said, 7 years, met great people, had great relationships with around there, and just up and move. It was tough, but I say it's a part of the business, and so I'm enjoying where I'm at. But like I said, Detroit will always be my second home for sure.
How long before you went to Philly did you run up the Rocky steps? Did you do that? Yeah.
I guarantee he still hasn't done that yet.
We just wanted to say thanks so much for the time, man. We know you're busy. You could be doing anything you want right now. So thanks so much for joining us here. Detroit loves you, Darius Slay.
I appreciate y'all, man.
Much love. Appreciate you coming on, big guy.
Thanks. We'll do it again soon, man. Hey, you guys go on a playoff run now, okay?
Hey, that's the goal right now. We working right now.
Yeah, everybody in Detroit has a second team. We'll pick up the Eagles now since you're on it, right?
Exactly.
I appreciate that.
All right.
College basketball really gets going tomorrow. It is Michigan State and Kansas on ESPN in the State Farm Champions Classic, Madison Square Garden. What better place to kick off the season? Kentucky and Duke in the 9:30 game. We are very excited to be joined by one of the best guys out there right now and for a long, long time, Jay Bilas, ESPN college basketball analyst. Jay, thanks so much for the time.
Well, if I'm so great, why do you taunt me with a haircuts for men commercial as if I need a haircut? That was uncalled for.
Jay, I'll tell you though, if you get that scalp, the hot hot shampoo, lather. The hot lather neck shave, I mean, you still get that. It's real good over here.
That's what I've been reduced to is a warm chamois and a neck shave. That's all I got.
You look great, Jay.
Hey,
Come
Jay,
on,
you
man.
look amazing. I would never do you like that, man. And that wasn't his intent. We promise, Jay. We appreciate you.
We got to pay the bills somehow, Jay.
This is true. This is true. But no, we're excited, and we talked about it before you came on. This is the first time in 10 years Michigan State hasn't been ranked, and being here in the state of Michigan, it's like, oh man, what? Michigan State's not ranked. I want to talk about that. Like, what does that mean for Tom Izzo's team, especially tomorrow against Kansas? Who do we have to look forward to? Max Christie? Is he a guy?
He may be the guy. It's interesting, Braylon. I mean, not having the team ranked, maybe a little bit of a slap at Michigan State for what happened last year, but I think it's really an acknowledgement that there are just a lot of question marks that we don't really know much about some of what Tom has. And, he had point guard issues last year. It wasn't a great defensive team and wasn't one of his better rebounding teams, and they really struggled. And this is a team that early in the season was in the top 5. They won at Cameron Indoor Stadium in this event that wasn't played, all together. They parsed it out. But early in the season, we thought, man, this is a great passing team. They got everything. And they didn't have anybody to key the defense from the point guard position. They didn't have anybody to kind of get the team into the right spots on offense. This year, they've got that, both with A.J. Hoggard as a sophomore, and then they've got a transfer from Northeastern, Tyson Walker, who's really good defender. He scored about 19 a game last year. I think the biggest issue is going to be, can Tom get him to score a little bit more? Because he's been really unselfish so far. I think he's going to have to call his own number from time to time. But Max Christie is one of the best freshmen that he's ever recruited at the guard spot. He's right up there with Gary Harris in my judgment as to how good he is. And then I think Joey Hauser's going to have a great year. He had a good year last year, but he's better than he played. And I think having a stable point guard position will really help him as well. So I think Michigan State will outpace their non-ranking in the preseason, and I think they'll be one of the tougher, grittier teams Tom has had there in the last 5 or 6 years.
And Jay, isn't that what Tom Izzo loves to almost a little bit? That team or not much expected of them, not ranked, and you kind of use that as fuel throughout the season.
Yeah, I mean, everybody says they like that when that's what they have.
He'd rather have Imani Bates.
What they really like is having the best players. And I think he'd rather be ranked number 1 knowing that his guys are worthy of number 1. But that's not the kind of year this is going to be. But what I think will be fun, not only for fans and for people like us, but for Tom Izzo and his staff, will be, this is not a team full of stars. It's a team full of really good players. And I think when they've been sort of that gritty, tough team, they've had great years. And it's really rewarding. It's rewarding to do it any type of way. I don't ever remember somebody winning a championship saying, really wasn't fun winning the way we did. Everybody likes winning. But I think this kind of team can be especially rewarding and fun if they come together, which I think they will, because they've got the talent, and a bunch of guys have gotten better from last year, whether it's Marcus Bingham Jr. or Malik Hall, guys like that. They don't have a plug and play star. Like, you just don't know, like, who's their best player going to be. I think it'll probably be Max Christie or Joey Hauser, but you don't know. And then their most important position is going to be the point. Because when you don't have competent, not competent, that's the wrong way to put it. But if you don't have very good point guard play, it's like not having a good quarterback in football, or not having good pitching in baseball. You can overcome it, but it's really hard to do that.
Talking to Jay Bilas, ESPN college basketball analyst. Jay, I want to transition over to the Michigan Wolverines, now number 6 in the country, preseason AP, Juwan Howard's 3rd year. I mean, just your first of all, your assessment of Juwan Howard through two plus seasons at Michigan following John Beilein's run.
Well, Juwan is not only a great basketball man, he's a great person, and has proven that whether he was a player in college, professionally, when he coached in the pros, and then has coached in college. And one of the great things for me about watching Juwan and others like him have great success in college coming from the NBA is that it sort of puts an end to this narrative. I don't know how it starts, that college coaches can't coach in the NBA, or NBA coaches can't coach in college, or all that, like college coaches can't coach in the NFL or vice versa. Most of coaching, look, there are bad coaches out there. I'm not suggesting there aren't. But most of coaching success comes from, 1, your players, and 2, the situation and fit that you're in. So, as an example, when Nick Saban went to Miami, if they had gotten Drew Brees, I think things would have looked a lot different for him with the Dolphins. Mm-hmm. It's not that he couldn't coach in the NFL. It's not that other guys can't come from the NFL and coach in college. But Juwan has recruited really well. He's built a really good culture. He's got the number 1 recruiting class coming in next year. He's got a top 5 recruiting class there now with Caleb Houston leading the way. And they play really well. Like, if Isaiah Livers hadn't got hurt last year, that was a Final Four team that could have busted in and maybe made it to the championship game. I don't think anybody would have beaten, anybody outside of Baylor would have beaten Gonzaga, and I don't think anybody out of Gonzaga could have beaten Baylor. But they would have been a Final Four team, in my opinion, if Livers were healthy.
Jay Bilas joins us, ESPN college basketball analyst. Speaking of Juwan Howard, you have coaches that are not with us anymore. In other words, ones that have retired, and it's like a new era of college basketball guys coming in. You got Anthony Hardaway in Memphis, Juwan Howard here, and you got a guy like Coach K leaving in Duke. This is farewell season. What do you take from that? Is it the new changing of the guard? Are we going to see these young basketball players that used to play for these teams come in and start coaching their own teams?
Yeah, it's just kind of the way of the world, Maz. I mean, when I was a kid, I grew up in Los Angeles, and I think I was in 5th or 6th grade when John Wooden retired. And he was 65 years old. I thought he was the oldest man that had ever lived. Yes. And now guys are coaching into their mid-70s. Coach K is 75. He's 10 years older than Wooden was. And he seems as young now as he was 10 years ago. I know he could still do this if he wanted to, but I think he's looking at his family going, my wife deserves a little bit of a break here. We should hang out with our grandkids and do some other things. He thinks it's time. So, look, I mean, I think we're going to miss Coach K a lot. I know I will. But at the same time, you kind of want to acknowledge this is kind of the way it is. And, look, football did just fine without Bear Bryant and John McKay and all these guys. We miss them. Yep. But everybody rolled on, and I'm sure the world will end after this show ends. But they're not going to miss the rest of us. And I think when Roy Williams just retired, I just saw him the other day, and I remember after spending some time with them, leaving there going, God, I'm really going to miss him. But then I went to Carolina's practice. I watched him practice, and we kind of do move on to the next thing. Yeah. And the beauty of this to me is, the game's going to move on to the next thing. But Roy Williams and Coach K are going to move on to the next thing in their lives too. And that's why they're doing this, so that they can move on to the next thing. And so it's just I sound like the Lion King here. It's like the circle of life. But the game's going to be fine without these guys. But the beauty of this year to me is we get to celebrate Coach K. And we get one last run with them, and it's going to be fun as long as we don't overdo it. As long as we don't say the last time he'll put on his socks.
We will. We will, and that's okay.
I'm good with it.
And that's okay. That's right. We're all fans.
Hey, Jay.
I don't want socks for the last time in the garden.
Jay, I think my next question sets up perfect. After we talked about Juwan Howard, you talked about John Wooden. So the next thing that makes sense to talk about Mike Cronin and his UCLA Bruins, number 2 in the country, led by Johnny Juzang. Talk about how good they are and they can be. Because I'm a big fan of Johnny Juzang, and I think that he could be a huge, impactful player in the NBA.
Yeah, he's an All-American. I mean, he started at Kentucky. He's from California. Went to Kentucky. He actually reclassed and went to Kentucky early, so he's still a pretty young player. But didn't play a ton at Kentucky, was known as a really good shooter, but just didn't get on the floor much. Transferred back to UCLA and takes him to a Final Four and becomes an All-American. So for those who say that, I don't like the transfer culture and the transfer portal, there are a lot of success stories out of transfers. You could sit and say, people could sit and say, well, he should have fought through adversity at Kentucky. There are different ways to do this. UCLA's got everybody back, and they added to everybody coming back with a high school All-American named Peyton Watson. So they're legit. I actually might have them number 1 over Gonzaga because they're older than Gonzaga. Gonzaga's really talented again. And they've got a superstar in Chet Holmgren, a freshman 7-footer that can, you've not seen many guys like him in the past that have come in and played at the level he can play at as a freshman. But UCLA's got everything. The only thing they're going to have to do now is they're going to have to do it with a target on their back. Like last year, they had like the innocent climb to the Final Four. Now it's expected. A little different when it's expected, but I think they'll handle it really well.
Jay, you may have just answered it, but if you had to be nailed down to a Final Four pick or a national champion, just say Gonzaga, UCLA, and then who else?
I would probably put Michigan in there, and I do like Purdue a lot. So that's 2 Big Ten teams after the Big Ten was the best conference in the country last year and laid multiple eggs in the NCAA tournament.
Oh yeah.
I don't think that was necessarily the conference as much as just one of those things where the league as a whole underperformed in the tournament relative to how good the league performed the regular season. But Purdue's, they can shoot it. They got really good depth. They got star power with Jaden Ivey and Travion Williams, and they've got size across the front line. Zach Edey's like 7'4", and you don't see many guys like that. So I think Purdue will be Purdue and Michigan is the 2 best teams in the Big Ten, and I think the Big Ten could very well, along with the Southeastern Conference, be the best league again.
Hey, Jay, last thing before we let you go. Thanks a million for coming on, as always. But
Absolutely.
I want to give a shout-out to our favorite, Dickie V, Coach V, fighting it out, beating cancer, beating its ass. And I just wanted to make sure you tell them that this boy's from Detroit. Give them their best. We love them.
I appreciate you saying that. We'll definitely do that. We're going to miss Dick this week in New York. He's getting his cancer treatments right now. He's got lymphoma. And while, he's 82 years old, any cancer diagnosis is bad news. But the good news among the bad is that it's a 90% cure rate. There's no surgery involved for Dick Vitale, and it's chemotherapy, which is difficult. And but he's soldiering on, and he's keeping his spirits up. And I know the well wishes mean a lot to him, especially when they come from Motown. He has a special place in his heart for Detroit and the University of Detroit and the Pistons, even though they gave him the Ziggy.
Hey, it led to his next career, right? It led to his best career. Hey, Jay, we can't thank you enough for this. And next time you're in Ann Arbor, perhaps it's probably the closest you'll be to us. Yeah. Maybe we'll send a car. You can come get a hot lather next year.
Yeah.
There you go. That'd be great. My bottom of my neck and my back are getting a little hairy.
Tell me about it.
We'll take you to Zingerman's. We'll take you to Zingerman's.
Tell me about it. The shirt stops with the hair, but we can keep
Jay.
going.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Jay. All right, we'll be watching tonight. ESPN. It is our pleasure to be joined by Mateen Cleaves. He's a leadership coach now at United Wholesale Mortgage that just did sponsorship deals and endorsement deals, or NIL deals, I guess we'll call them.
That's the easy way to do it.
We're all still trying to get used to this with 133 players, student athletes at Michigan State University. And Mateen, for as great as that is, it seems like, and this is just the way it is in the times we're living in right now, but you can't do anything nice for anybody without, trying to have the carpet pulled out from under you too. A couple of lawmakers said,
cancel culture,
a couple of lawmakers come out and make make a harsh statement, against United Wholesale Mortgage because all 900 athletes at Michigan State were not included. I guess, how do you guys respond to that? And I know Matt Ishbia has said, you know what, look, maybe down the line, great, we can look at this, but this is just a start, and you invite other companies to come join you, and maybe everybody take a team or something like that. But how do you respond to that, Mateen? Because I almost feel like the minute you do it, you're going to get some sort of backlash because, again, you can't do anything nice anymore for anybody.
So almost like, what was the plan they had in place? Because I'm pretty sure, you don't come up with an idea like this and not have something in play for the reactions of other people.
Right, exactly. Well, you know it's going to be reaction, and people are going to poke at it. At the end of the day, man, our whole focus was to get the ball rolling.
Yes.
All right? Now, the last time I checked, Matt Ishbia is not the only successful person that went to Michigan State, and it's plenty of other people out there that own businesses. So hopefully we can spearhead others getting involved, and we can take care of everybody. Right now, we just wanted to get the ball rolling, and that was our way. We knew we had relationships with the football team. Matt is really good friends with Coach Tucker. I'm really good friends with Coach Tucker. Matt is really good friends with Coach Izzo. I'm really good friends with. We're all family. We all hang out and talk all the time. So that was our relationship. And once again, I'm good friends with the softball coach. I'm good friends with the volleyball coach, women's volleyball, women's basketball. So we're good friends with all of them. So right now, we just had to get the ball rolling. Okay?
I'm glad. I was going to say, Mateen, I'm glad you said that because I think you put it in perspective like that. That's an $800,000 a year commitment to already 130. Why is that Matt Ishbia's responsibility to do that alone by himself?
With everybody.
It kind of frustrates me.
Care.
And I got nothing to do with it.
We understand people are going to say things, man. It is what it is. Social media is giving everybody a platform, and we get that. But when people really understand the why behind it, it was to get the ball rolling to help kids. All right? It's so many other people that can jump on board. And, hey, come on, let's take it to the next level. Matt donated $32 million to Michigan State. I wonder if people forgot about that. But he's such a class act. In his interview, in his press conference, he said he hoped he's not the top guy. He hopes somebody come in and double that. That's what it's about. Matt is taking a step of leadership and I think kind of setting the tone for others to come on board. And that's what we're doing, man. We didn't. Our intention was not to belittle no other team or anything like that. It was like, hey, let's get the ball rolling, and once we get the ball rolling, we'll figure out, maybe how to take care of everybody. But you got to get the ball rolling.
Mateen Cleaves joins us, of course, national champ with Michigan State, #1 draft pick back in the day with the Detroit Pistons. Only 1 year here. Wish we could have had you a little bit longer. But I'll keep it to sports here, Mateen. What happened with Emoni Bates? Here he was. Tom Izzo, he promised he was going to come here, winds up going to Penny Hardaway at Memphis. How does that impact Michigan State, and do you blame the kid?
No, first of all, we just keep it moving. That's what great programs do. It is what it is, and I don't blame the kid. You got to do what you think best for you. This is probably the most important decision you're going to make in your life. All right, so we're not. Emoni, he's a good kid. I met his father, I met his family. Good people. I wish the best for him. We don't take it personal. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, you have to do what's best for you. Now, me, I wish, and it's just in my little world, I wish he would have stayed in state. When you're such a great player like he is, you're only going to go to school for a few months. All right, you're going to live probably in Michigan the rest of your life when you finish playing. You know, so, hey, you go to Michigan State, but stay in state. That's just me. Yeah. But then again, as being a player, I get it. Do whatever you think best for you. So I'm going to support him wherever he go. You know, I would have loved to see him in the green and white, obviously, but I'm going to support the kid wherever he goes. He's from Michigan. We love him.
How do you think he got away from this state? Juwan Howard, I mean, he's bringing a lot of talent over to Ann Arbor. The kid lives near Ann Arbor. How the heck did he get out of there?
Man, we'll rack our brains, man, and pass out trying to figure out how he got away.
I've been scratching my head for the past month and a half.
Yeah, it could be something as little as his dad is a Penny Hardaway fan. Yeah. You know what I mean? Who knows, right, man? I'm telling you, sometimes it's little stuff like that, you know. But I respect Penny. I respect his program. I respect what Penny's doing in Memphis, you know. But like I said, just me being a Michigander, and I'm a little biased towards us, I wish he would have, you know, stayed in the state. If you don't come to Michigan State, go to Michigan. Juwan Howard has, NBA background and great relationships with everybody else as well. So that's just my world. But at the end of the day, the kid has to do his best for him because he's the one who's going to have to live with that decision.
Last one, Mateen. What do you got for Mel Tucker and the Michigan State Spartan football team this year? Great win last Friday night. My man Alex Mayer in the booth here is a big Michigan State fan, went there as a student. What can we expect out of the Spartans?
Oh, man. Hey, we going to compete. That's one thing I love about Mel Tucker, man. I went up there and I've been watching a few practices, man. That's the main thing he's trying to get over them guys. I need dogs, and I want you to compete. And he brings that mentality to every practice and everything that he does. If it's a practice, it's a meeting, whatever it is. So I'm on board with Mel Tucker, man. I got his back. Whatever we can do to help support him to get that program to the next level, that's what we're doing. So Mel Tucker, man, that's the guy for it. We got his back. We're going to do some special things this year and years to come.
Mateen Cleaves, we cannot thank you for your time. It is an absolute pleasure to speak with you this afternoon, and continued success for you. Hopefully we can do it again down the road. Very enjoyable for us. Thank you so much.
Yeah, let me say this before I get off. I love your show, love what you guys do. But Brandon, that's my guy. People are like, how does Michigan and Michigan State guys get along?
My guy.
You know, I was a fan of watching him, you know, when he played, because he played the right way. But you very rarely meet a guy that's great in what they do, but just as great as a person. And I fell in love with Brandon on the field watching him play, but when I met him, I'm like, this is my little brother for life. I love this guy.
Yeah, man, same, man. I cheer for same, man. I appreciate that, man. Same for him. I never liked Michigan State in terms of, like, against Michigan, but I always cheered for Michigan State when he was playing. I was happy they won, man. I was scared against Florida, man. With the Teddy Dupay with the cheap stuff. But you know what I'm saying? Classy guys win it in, man. The hell with Teddy Dupay.
I was ready to take it in. Mateen Cleaves, can't thank you enough. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
All right. All love, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Right back at you. How great is that? And you were saying the same thing
100%.
About Mateen Cleaves off air to us. I mean, there are just those certain people that transcend, in my opinion, who you root for. Like, I always grew up rooting for Michigan. Yeah. Okay, that was and then I ultimately went to school there. I was a University of Michigan guy. But there are those people. Every now and again, I feel like Sean Respert was one of them at Michigan State. Mateen Cleaves.
Respert, nice.
Mateen Cleaves is one of them. Steve Smith,
Smith, great guy.
T.J. Duckett.
Tico, him and his brother
Tico Duckett. T.J. Duckett. Some of the what's his? Oh my God! Growing up, number 35. Oh my gosh! Running back for Michigan State.
Cedric Irvin.
Lorenzo
White. I loved Lorenzo White as a kid. Sorry for the brain fart. But there are those certain athletes that come along that transcend who you root for, and you root for them too. And Mateen Cleaves is one of them. Welcome back to Woodward Sports. Ryan Ermanni, Braylon Edwards, Tom Mazawey. Talking a little baseball now. Everybody here in Detroit, I think universally, wants and expects Carlos Correa to sign here with Detroit. It's been about 5 years since the Tigers have spent money. They seem to be based on last year, ahead of schedule in terms of competing for a playoff berth. I don't think anybody expected them to be as competitive as they were last year. So that accelerates the timeline a little bit. And then, of course, you see this picture of Carlos Correa having breakfast, which extended into lunch.
So it's brunch.
With Tigers manager A.J. Hinch yesterday. What's that?
Who took the picture?
I don't know. Somebody.
Somebody snitching.
Right. Somebody who knows.
Snitches get stitches.
Exactly. Right.
Not A.B. Chef.
Right. So a lot of people would love the services of Carlos Correa. So let's bring him in. New York Post baseball columnist Ken Davidoff, also a University of Michigan grad in 1993. We got it. Ken, how you doing? Thanks for the time.
I'm doing great, Braylon. It's an honor. Thank you. So I'm, a little older than you. I'm more from the Desmond, Derek Alexander era, but it's a pleasure to be on.
No, the pleasure's all mine. And to be honest, it's crazy. Derek Alexander was my favorite receiver, actually, at Michigan. Derek Alexander was my favorite. And I had a chance to meet Derek Alexander, and let's just say that it didn't go as well as I wanted it to. So I'll make the story short. Derek Alexander's from Detroit. He wore number 1. He was a great wide receiver. If he never gets hurt, Desmond Howard never wins the Heisman Trophy. That's a known fact. But with that being said, I loved him. I loved what he did. I loved his athletic ability. I loved his route running. I loved him in the NFL as well. Ran into him a Thanksgiving game. I was with my stepfather. This is my senior year after I just finished breaking the records. And I ran into Derek Alexander and I guess his girlfriend or wife, I don't know. And I told my stepdad, I said, Dad, that's Derek Alexander. I said, that's why we're number 1 in Michigan. And I went up to him and I was like, yo, Derek Alexander, what's going on? Braylon, how you doing? Oh, hey man, what's going on? And kept walking.
Really?
That's all I got.
Oh, God.
That's all I got. Not only am I from Detroit as well, I also wore number 1. I also play wide receiver.
He's jealous.
I thought there were so many similarities that it would just be hey, what's going on? How you doing? Whenever I see guys, I'm excited.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't get the excited that I wanted. So, but things happen.
I'm sorry.
How about that? Well, great story.
But it's great to see you.
Never heard that. Hey, Ken, let me get into some baseball with you. Look, there's about 5 shortstops out there, and 8 or 9 teams need a shortstop. It seems logical for the Tigers in this natural marriage with Carlos Correa. What do you make of the lunch yesterday? Where are the Tigers in line there in their pursuit of Carlos Correa?
Look, I do my annual free agent predictions, and I predicted the Tigers to sign Carlos Correa. So I think it's going to happen. I think the Tigers have you guys noted, I've had quite the rebuild here, a lengthy rebuild, and created massive payroll flexibility. Their only real commitment prior to Eduardo Rodriguez is Mickey Cabrera, a couple more years there. And it seems to me they are primed and ready, not only to spend, but to spend at the right time. After a nice climb last year, this past year, to make that jump into bona fide contention, and that can happen with someone as good as Carlos Correa.
Ken, what's it going to take? What kind of contract are we talking here? We always talk about 10 for $300 or 10 for $325. Is that the market?
I think it will be, yes. I think he's going to surpass what Francisco Lindor made from the Mets, which was 10 years, $341 million. I think Correa has a strong case. I think he's a superior player to Francisco Lindor, and he's a free agent. Lindor signed that when he wasn't a free agent, just with the Mets. So I do think it will surpass that figure.
Ken, here's a great question. Carlos Correa, we know we want to sign him here in Detroit. We know that where he would take this franchise. We know him and AJ's history. What happens if they don't get AJ? I mean, what happens if they do not get Carlos Correa? How far does that set the Detroit Tigers back? Or does it set them back at all?
It depends who else they get. Whether it is another shortstop. You guys mentioned there's 5 elite shortstop free agents. That's Corey Seager, Marcus Semien, Javi Baez, and Trevor Story. Or if they sign a couple more starting pitchers, or if they sign a big outfielder, it is a deep free agent class. So, yeah, I think Correa is the way to go, and I think that is what will happen because it will give them that instant credibility. But I don't think they're toast if for some reason they fail to sign Correa.
Hey, Kenny, I got a little beef with Carlos. Not only was he on that Astro team that cheated, obviously. He's a bit of a show-off. He hits at Minute Maid Park, which is not Comerica National Park, as everyone knows. He's not going to hit like he hit at Minute Maid. He's a great defensive shortstop. Speaking of that, I didn't like the shade he threw at Derek Jeter. I really did. What business? Why would he say that? He was a kid when Derek Jeter was winning all those championships. I just didn't like that.
Ken Maz named his dog Jeets. So that, by the way.
Give you the backstory on the anger.
That's the backstory.
I mean, give me a break. Shut your mouth.
That was an odd choice to make as a free agent. I agree. I happen to agree with his assessment. I do think Jeter would win fewer Gold Gloves in this age and the way we measure defenders now. But yeah, why say that when you're trying to get many teams, including the Yankees, engaged in a free agency?
Why would Carlos Correa have gotten Jeremy Giambi out in that AL divisional playoff? Would he have done that?
I would say yes, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
He's a
I'll
pretty
shut
brilliant
up then.
shortstop.
Hey, Ken, let me ask you about the Yankees. The Yankees were one of the teams that went down to see Justin Verlander. They're one of the teams reportedly in the mix for Carlos Correa. What are they going to do in free agency? Now, I know Verlander went back to the Astros and Correa linked here to the Tigers, but what about the Yankees?
Well, they need a shortstop, whether they wind up. I don't think Correa is coming. I think they're just talking nice because that benefits everyone. I just think A, there's too much history there with the sign stealing, and B, I just think they're better off with a lefty hitter like Corey Seager, or with someone ready to move out of shortstop quicker like Marcus Semien, because they do have a couple young shortstops they like, or they could just go the cheap route, stopgap like Andrelton Simmons, because they also definitely want a starting pitcher. Excuse me, you're right. They ran on Verlander, didn't want to go that second year. And they also are in the mix for a center fielder.
Ken Davidoff joins us, New York Post columnist and writes for baseball, obviously, knows his stuff. Tigers, what else can the Tigers get? Let's say Carlos Correa does not come here. What else do you think the Tigers need? Do you think they compete this year for a playoff spot at all?
That's a fair question, Maz. Yeah, would they win 77 this year?
Yeah, they hit the over.
Yeah. I think they should get into the 80s, and I don't think the 90s is impossible. Eduardo Rodriguez was a nice first step. It was a bold move. High risk. Might not work, but I like it. I think it can work. And, I think whether they add another starting pitcher or two, I think shortstop is the way for a team looking to spend this winter. Shortstop is the way to go. There's no doubt about that. So if for some reason they whiff on Correa, you've got those other guys I mentioned right in there.
Hey, Ken, let me ask you just a big picture question about baseball and the Atlanta Braves, who won the World Series this year. 60 days before they won that World Series, they completely changed their outfield. Like 4 new players out there in the outfield. And they were, Maz, 4 for 4 out there. Just your take on how that all went down the last 60 days of the baseball season, and then Atlanta cultivating it with a World Series.
Yeah, I was happy. I picked them to win before the season started. So
wow. There we go. Michigan stuff, man.
Getting that right. Yeah, Michigan, man. Excuse me. Credit to the Atlanta Braves, because they could have folded. That you mentioned Acuna got hurt. That was on the Saturday before the All-Star game. They could have taken that All-Star break and said, we're done. Let's sell some guys, and kind of reboot and plan for the future. But to their credit, they said, we don't want that. We don't want a boring summer for our fans and for us. So they got the 4 outfielders you mentioned. They got a catcher. They got a relief pitcher. And it did undoubtedly rejuvenate the team. It wasn't immediate. They still struggled for another week or two after the trade deadline. But once they kind of figured it out and kicked it into gear, they got it done, obviously. So it really is a tribute to them for not giving up, for trying. And it should hopefully be a lesson to other teams to take the similar risk, because the reward is very high.
Ken, here's a good question for you. Yesterday, the AL and NL MVPs both came out. Obviously, Shohei unanimous in the AL. And then in the NL, you get Bryce Harper winning. You have a lot of people that are upset. Do you think as though Soto or Tatis Jr. got snubbed, or do you think Bryce Harper should have won over those two?
I did not vote for that one. I voted for American League Manager. But yeah, I thought Harper was a very solid choice because of how well he performed in the second half. When the Phillies scratched and clawed, and they ultimately missed the playoffs, but they were in it until the final week of the season. And Harper gets to take a lot of credit for that. Soto played for a team that did give up at the trade deadline, rightfully so, probably. And the truth is, he hit his best after the deadline. So, we're picking nits here, but you have to do that to pick the MVP. I think Soto hit at his best in the first half of the season, maybe they wouldn't have had to trade away all those guys. And when you talk about Tatis, you're talking about a guy on a team that really just fell off a cliff, team with huge expectations entering the year, and the most disappointing team of the year. Now, statistically speaking, obviously they would have been worse without Tatis, but I think it's awfully hard to give a guy an MVP when he was on that kind of team.
Hey, Ken, let's go up the street to the Mets. They get their new general manager from the Angels. 2 days before they signed this guy, the Angels signed Noah Syndergaard for $20 million. And he's going to probably comeback player of the year. Will the Mets ever get it right, man? I mean, I know they were set back all these years with the bad ownership and Bernie Madoff and all of that. Now they got the richest owner in sports, probably. Will the Mets ever get it right? And did they get it right by hiring this Epler guy?
That's a broad question. I would say, look, what do you think our species has? Another 100, 200 years at least?
I'm not sure.
Before we go down the toilet?
I'm not sure.
So, I'll say they win one World Series at least in the next 200 years.
All right.
Yang thinks it's before then.
Yeah, I don't blame him. I might bet the under myself. Is Billy Epler the right hire?
Yeah.
I think given where they were in this process, it was an embarrassing search.
Oh, my
Let's
God.
not kid ourselves here. They whiffed on a lot of people.
Theo.
Where they are in this search, I thought Billy Epler was a worthwhile risk. I got to know Billy quite well when he was on the Yankees. Very, very bright guy, a good leader. He whiffed in his opportunity with the Angels. No one can dispute that. But sometimes you get a second chance, and sometimes you succeed in that second chance.
What happened with Theo Epstein? I mean, isn't he the slam dunk here?
He wanted no part of it.
That scares me.
Hey, Ken, final thing for you. Michigan, Ohio State next week. Who you got?
I hope Braylon can appreciate this. Tunnel vision. Maryland. Tunnel vision.
There you go.
There you
go. There you go. I love it.
Great stuff, Ken. We certainly appreciate your time. Ken Davidoff, New York Post baseball columnist there. Follow him on Twitter at Ken Davidoff. U of M class of 93 as well. Go Blue.
Baby.
All right, great stuff. Hey, we're going to take it. Go Blue. Thanks, Ken.